I know how difficult it is, and that's why when I, at the beginning of the year, set out 5 priorities for the country to halve inflation, grow the economy, reduce debt, cut waiting lists, and stop the boats. The first of those was to halve inflation.
Imagine countries spiraling into crises, citizens grappling with unexpected consequences, and global markets in a whirlwind. Let's dive deep into the stories of once thriving economies that took a downturn, all due to policies that, on paper, seemed perfect. Did you know that 1/3 of Harvard students who graduated in the early 1990s and pursued careers in finance had $1 million in a year? You may already know this truth, or it may be new to you. However, it made a difference in some way to the macroeconomy of that specific nation. However, the market may not always receive all the good news from life. Some macroeconomic issues have the potential to destroy the market. Therefore, we shall thoroughly comprehend these problems and how they impact the economy. Therefore, let's begin by comprehending what macroeconomics is. The movement and trends in the economy are the main topics of macroeconomics. Economics is the study of how the overall economy functions. As a result, we might define it as the area of economic theory that examines the economy as a whole. So the entire economic system comes under macroeconomics, including national income, total savings and investments, total employment, total demand, total supply, overall price level, etc. So why do we need macroeconomics? Will it help the economy to grow in any way? Well, let's see. It aids in the comprehension of how a sophisticated modern economic system operates. Macroeconomics sheds light on how the economy as a whole operates and how aggregate supply and demand affect the level of employment and national GDP. Moreover, they assist in accomplishing economic growth objectives, a higher GDP level, and a greater employment level. Additionally, it examines the factors that impact a nation's economic development. Hence, understanding macroeconomic issues can help determine how to achieve and maintain the highest level of economic growth. But do you know that while trying to accomplish these macroeconomic goals, several problems are associated with it? Inflation, unemployment, the balance of payments, and other factors were a few among them. Let's now learn more about them. Have you ever thought about the causes of these macroeconomic issues? When the economy fails to sufficiently meet the objectives of stability, economic growth, and full employment, macroeconomic issues result. There is thus a cascading effect that happens. When full employment is not reached, unemployment results. Moreover, inflation begins to develop when the economy is not stable enough. Hence, sluggish growth occurs when the economy is not successfully achieving the objective of economic expansion. Do you know that countries like Germany, China, Venezuela, etc. have economic similarities? However, all these countries differ in terms of their growth. So have you thought about what might be the reason for this? Economic situations frequently influence government decisions to adopt new policies. So government policy has historically significantly impacted economic growth, the emergence of new company entities, and the success of financial markets, particularly in the United States. Moreover, in the broadest sense, a nation's economic activity reflects what its citizens, companies, and governments wish to buy and sell. The decisions made by customers and producers are what essentially shape the economy. For instance, the US has a capitalist system based on the idea of a free market. Additionally, to engineer economic progress or avert unfavorable economic situations in the future, the government may opt to restrict some parts of economic activity. Generally, a government's active involvement in addressing and influencing a nation's economic conditions protects and advances the general population's economic interests. Likewise, a political leader's track record of economic growth is frequently considered, especially if they are in a position to run for re-election. Numerous studies conducted in the US have revealed that the economy significantly influences how Americans cast their ballots in the country's presidential election. Stronger pay growth, more jobs created, improved financial market performance, and larger corporate profits often result from robust economic growth. A course of action designed to affect or regulate the economy's behavior is known as an economic policy, and the government normally implements and oversees economic policy. Its decisions include those made about taxation and spending by the government, the supply of money, and the redistribution of income from the wealthy to the poor. Moreover, there are 2 techniques to evaluate the efficacy of economic policies. positive economics and normative economics. Positive economics tries to explain how the economy and economic policies function without making value determinations on the optimal outcomes. These theories stand out because they can be tested, verified, or disproved. The idea that an increase in the supply of money causes an increase in prices, for instance, falls under the umbrella of positive economics because it can be verified by looking at data on the amount of money available and the level of prices. In normative economics, value judgments evaluate how well the economy and economic policies work. Therefore, it is impossible to test normative economic ideas. For instance, since it is based on a value judgment and cannot be evaluated, confirmed, or denied, the claim that the inflation rate is too high falls under the purview of normative economics. Unsurprisingly, normative economic assumptions are the subject of most economists' debates. Changing the cost of borrowing money is one of the most frequent ways a government may try to affect a nation's economic operations. The most common way to accomplish this is the federal funds rate, which is a target interest rate that affects short-term rates on debt like consumer loans and credit cards. It can be decreased or increased. To limit economic growth, the Federal Reserve raises the federal funds rate, and to promote it, it lowers the federal funds rate. Next is a fiscal policy, where the government may also pass laws that modify spending, alter tax brackets, or add tax breaks. Moreover, they decide whether or not they want to spend more money than they expect to bring in regarding budgets. The objective of the evaluation process for public spending is to either advance economic prosperity or diffuse an overheated economy. Common fiscal policy is centered on how the government collects money instead of how it spends it. Tax incentives, increased tax credits, and tax rate reductions all lessen the financial burden on citizens while fostering economic expansion. Economic activity is slowed when favorable tax rules are repealed or taxes are raised. So how did the economic policies help achieve financial stability in the U.S. economy? Did they give equal importance to both policies? Let's see. Massive bank failures and corporate bankruptcies have caused numerous major economic disruptions in the U.S. before the Fed was established in 1913. The Fed was established with the responsibility of ensuring the financial stability of the American economy. Recessionary times, characterized by weak economic development and high unemployment rates, posed the biggest threat to the stability of the American economy after the Great Depression. These two elements working together resulted in a continuous period of GDP decline. As a result, the government lowered taxes, increased the money supply, and raised spending itself. It also stimulated consumer spending by encouraging tax cuts for businesses. Moreover, the 1970s saw the emergence of a new economic reality. Due to this economy's rapid money supply growth, there was persistently high inflation during this time. The U.S. government concentrated more on controlling inflation due to these economic causes, shifting its attention away from fighting the recession. As a result, the government passed laws that restricted the money supply increase, cut back on tax cuts, and restrained government spending. The Great Inflation, according to Federal Reserve history, is a period where the government started to rely less on fiscal policy, which involves adjusting tax receipts to affect the economy. The fiscal policies did not effectively address large government deficits, significant unemployment, and high inflation. Instead, to manage the overall speed of economic activity, the government turned to monetary policy, which involves managing the country's money supply through tools like interest rates. The Federal Reserve's two primary objectives since the 1970s have been to maximize employment in the United States and maintain a steady inflation rate. It is challenging to fulfill this dual mandate because doing so makes it harder to fulfill the second purpose. Hence, governments utilize economic means to effect changes as they deem fit, even when external events may impact economic activity. Hence, this could involve revisions to tax laws, changes to the federal funds rate, shifts in the quantity of money, or adjustments to government spending. From disastrous fiscal policies to unintentional economic downturns, we've taken you on a deep dive into the complexities of misguided strategies. It's crucial to learn from the past and ensure that our economic future remains bright. If you found today's topic enlightening, please hit that like button. But what if we told you that while we've discussed some of the most notable economic mishaps today, there's a looming concern on the horizon that could potentially dwarf them all? Before you go, share your thoughts on today's topic in the comments below. What do you think was the most alarming policy gone wrong? And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking insights. Until next time, stay curious and informed.